Hi everyone, this is a video clip about the bridge impact for population in the environment. And for this course, we use the Cambridge University Press textbook. If I just click on the book here, you can see that chapter 10 is population in the environment. And it's a really interesting module, this one is. It looks at how the environment determines population, how the environment determines health levels. It looks at the relationship between place and health. It looks at population change, things like green spaces and how they impact on how we feel about places. It looks at population growth in certain places like Tanzania. And then we look at the principles of population ecology. So looking at how different environments can support different populations. And then we look at how population predictions are made about the future and which different places have got which different predictions. So it's a really nice module, this one is. So this is the bridge impact for the population in the environment module. And there are some questions to work through. So let's have a look. First one, what is the current global population? There's lots of websites that will tell you that. So it's simply a case of clicking on it and putting it in. Obviously it's changing all the time. And what are the 3 most populous countries in the world? So it should be a relatively straightforward task to find that out too. And then I've put some articles in there. These are articles that I think are really interesting. This one here is good. It basically, move my face out of the way. It basically has got photographs of children from around the world and the different types of food they eat, just to show the differences between contrasting places and how people live in those places. There's another article here about how unforeseen factors threaten agricultural productivity. Another one about whether or not food production is sustainable, and this one looks at underwater ways of producing food. And then it talks about epidemiological transition. Now this one's a really interesting one, especially in light of the coronavirus, because what this basically says is that LICs get infectious diseases, communicable diseases, but HICs don't get them because we've got cures, we've got vaccines. So actually HICs tend to get degenerative diseases, ones that get worse as you get older. And obviously that's been flipped on its head a little bit in the current time. Then I've got a couple more articles for you to read here. This one's interesting. What do people of the world die from? And it talks to you about different places. And then there's a good podcast called The Long and Short of Life Expectancy, a BBC one. So I've asked you to make notes on that too. Now, as we go through this course, you will study 2 different diseases, one of which is malaria and one's lung cancer. And so I'm asking you to create a couple of fact files about these 2 diseases. And I've suggested you could include things like a prevalence map, i.e. where these particular diseases are found, and causes and consequences. Then I've asked you to research 3 organisations, because what we also look at is ways that diseases are managed by different organisations. And so I've listed 3 there that I would like you to have a look at and try and find out what are their actual aims and what they achieved. I have then embedded a fact sheet about the demographic transition model. And we do a lot of reading at A Level. I give you a lot of sheets like this and I ask you to go through and highlight them. You should only be highlighting maybe no more than a third of the page, just taking brief highlights from it, maybe writing little notes in the margin. You'll probably be familiar with demographic transition model from GCSE anyway. Hold on to that when you've highlighted it and put that in your reading section of your folder. Number 12, research the IPAT equation. Now the IPAT equation is something that tells you whether or to what extent environments can carry certain levels of population. So have a look at that. And then there's an additional reading idea for number 13. It is a book. It will take you quite a long time to read, but I know that some of you will read it and have a look at it. So if you're able to get it, Limits to Growth, 1972, have a little read of that because it's quite a good book. We'll also take a little look at Easter Island and the Rapa Nui people. So I've asked you there to have a look at where Easter Island is and see if you can work out what happened to those people and how it relates to this section of the course. I've put your documentary on there. It's 58 minutes long, but this guy is really interesting, really good to listen to, Hans Rosling. So definitely have a look at that if you can. 58 minutes, but well worth watching. Later on in the module, we need to know the difference between climate change and ozone depletion. It's something that people confuse all the time. So have a little look, make notes of the difference between the 2. Then I've got a little article for you to have a look at, and this is talking about how ageing populations, places where people are living till quite a long time, might have to think about pensions and working age. And it's really controversial, that one, so that'll get you thinking. And then finally, our case studies. Throughout this unit, we will be looking at Tanzania for population growth, Uganda as an example of a youthful population, and the UK as an example of an ageing population. So I've asked you to create a fact file for those 3 places. Maybe get a map, some key facts about them, maybe some population stats, maybe if you can find any news articles on their current issues. And all of that should set you up really nicely for the population and environment module.